everybody, it's Catherine from Jayne Catherine on Books, and I'm sorry it's been a while. I'm trying to play catch up, I think. David's been in hospital. You may have noticed if you were on my other channel, the craft channel. David's been in hospital and he's okay now. It's his usual issues with his heart. And it was in hospital for my birthday, which was last Friday, the 2nd of April. So what a miserable time we both had. But hey ho, onwards and upwards. So I'm a bit late doing my wrap up for March Mystery Madness. And I think I've read 8 books. Now that isn't all that many really. I'm finding that I'm reading less. I don't know if I'm reading slower. Since the pandemic started, you know, I'm sure a lot of our reading habits, I thought I'd read more, but I seem to be reading less. But that doesn't matter, does it? It's not all about the numbers. So here are the ones that I read for March Mystery Madness, and I'm sure you all had a wonderful time with all the other hosts. So the first one, one of Nelson's picks, is The Mystery of the Invisible Dog. It's on my Kindle, so I'll put it up here. And this was a 3-star read for me. A children's middle grade book, and it was a fun mystery. It features the 3 investigators, which are 3 young kids really, early teens. And they go to investigate this ornament, the dog that's gone missing, etc. And it was fun, but very much of its time. And they always make me smile because, like, of its time, I mean, when I was a little girl, all the kids went on adventures. They didn't need any parents with them. They went all over and camped out and went on adventures and set up detective agencies. You name it, they've done it. And I used to love that. I used to think, oh, wouldn't it be great if I was allowed to go and stay on a secret island or whatever. So yeah, very much of it feels old-fashioned in its styly, I suppose, but still a nice little read. I enjoyed it and I gave it 3 stars. The next one was Offshore by Anne Cleeves, another one here from my Kindle. I gave this 3 stars. I love Anne Cleeves, as if you've been here for a while, you'll know that I really like her as an author. And welcome to all the new subscribers, by the way. Welcome, welcome. And I don't know. I feel that Anne Cleeves does amazing novels, longer stories. These, I enjoyed them, but I felt they sort of cut short. And I think there's a certain, how can we say, there's a certain style for me, I suppose, in short stories. And Anne Cleeves writes stuff for the television as well, so they're not, sometimes they're much shorter. But for me, this collection, it left you wanting more. And I suppose in some ways that's a good thing, because you want to read more of Anne Cleeves. But as already a fan of hers, it was a 3-star read, enjoyable. Next, Dead Man's Blues. Now, I spoke a lot about this series by Ray Celestine and how much I love the Jazzman's Axe, Axeman's Jazz even. And this is book 2. I gave it 3 stars, guys. I ended up feeling rather disappointed with it. This is set in Chicago, and we've got Al Capone in there. We have got Michael, Talbot and Ida from the Pinkertons. They've joined the Pinkertons detective agency now. And although they are 2 great characters from book 1, I don't feel that they shone all that much in this one. I didn't feel that affinity with them. If I'd have gone straight to book 2, I may well not have bothered with the rest of the series. There was nothing that endeared me to the characters in this, especially Al Capone. And I wonder if it's the setting more than anything. I mean, certainly Ray Celestine is a good author. He can write very well. It's the usual format of like 3 different threads and all culminating together to solve everything. Maybe it was the setting, being in Chicago with Al Capone that perhaps I found a bit boring actually. It was very, very slow. Very slow. Now, I know the Axeman's Jazz is not a fast burner, but plenty of interest going on along the way. I didn't find this interesting along the way, I've got to be honest. But very well written, as usual. And I'm going to go on to the rest of the series. It hasn't put me off. Definitely a second book syndrome for me, that. Okay, so what do we have next? The Donor. So I'll put the picture up here because that's another one on my Kindle, getting through a few of my Kindle TBRs. And this is by Claire McIntosh, and I do like her writing. And although this is a short story, I really enjoyed it. It's a 4-star. In a few short pages, really, you got the gist of a good plot, good mystery brewing. We've got a young girl who receives a heart transplant, and for whatever reason, the donor's family contacts her mother, and she's invited into their lives, even though they're not supposed to do that. And you can feel the tension building there, and not totally unsurprising ending, but still very well done, still a good twist, still well written and well deserved of a 4-star. Next, The Hidden Wife, and I think I briefly talked about this in my last post because I had started it. Amanda Reynolds. I gave this 4 stars, and I've never read anything by her, but I certainly she certainly made an impact. It was very well written. It's a psychological thriller. Julia Blake is a young, I think she's only about 18 when she marries this older successful author. I think he's probably about 50 and she's 18, something like that. And you know, they are both in the limelight all the time, and the glitz and the glamour, and she suddenly goes disappearing, suddenly disappears. Goes disappearing, that's not good English, is it? She suddenly disappears. And we have Seren, who is a reporter, and she's quite a junior person in her firm, as it were, her paper, and she's invited to go and do a bit of an article on husband Max Blake, the author, and how things are since his wife's gone missing, that sort of thing. It in that respect, it gives you the vibes a little bit, the vibes of 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So yes, it's Evelyn Hugo. It's because I'm thinking of Evelyn Hardcastle from the Stuart Turton book. So yes, because in that a young girl reporter is asked to go and write the memoirs of Evelyn Hugo. So yeah, and then Seren is asked to go and write about Max Blake. And is it, you know, the real reason behind that, is it because they're a bit green in their craft and the people that they're interviewing want to manipulate them? So yeah, that's where the similarities end, but it did give me those vibes. So off she goes, and is she in danger? You know, has she been invited for the wrong reasons? Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. A very solid 4 stars. Then next, I've read it, Tragedy on the Branch Line. This is Edward Marsden's latest in the Detective Railway mystery series. It's one that David loves. I've only read 1 because I do prefer some of his other series, as I discussed last time. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I spoke about whether it would stand up as a standalone, and if you hadn't read the series, very much so, very much so. I've only read book 1 and this is book 19, so there's a lot gone on with the characters in this, the character development, and despite that, it still didn't feel as if you were wondering what had happened in past books. It didn't leave you thinking, oh right, I wonder what all that was about, you know, because the mystery itself sold the book for me. It's a very strong plot. Edward Marsden is just, you know, a master at his craft, really, and I enjoyed this. It was set in Cambridge and Oxford, and we have got one of the fellows there called Bernard Pomeroy. What a name. Sorry if you're called Bernard Pomeroy, but what a name. There may well have been a murder. There may well have been. And it's very strange because he's a very fit, sporty young man. He's the cox for the Oxford and Cambridge boat race, which is, you know, a very big event here usually in the UK when we're in normal times, and you've got to be extremely fit to be able to be in that race, extremely fit. And, you know, for him to suddenly die, there starts to be a question mark whether there are suspicious circumstances surrounding this. Now, Inspector Colbeck and Sergeant Leeming, his sidekick, very different characters. I do like their characters. In fact, I felt that I knew them better in this than book 1. Now, I know book 1, you're still getting to know a little bit about them. And also, you know, they weren't as experienced back in those days. Whereas now I felt that they're very well-rounded characters and you really got to know them in this, I felt. So Inspector Colbeck very much is renowned for investigating any sort of crime to do with the railway. He's got a name throughout the UK. So he's been specially called upon to come and investigate this particular murder. Sergeant Leeming's quite a scruffy individual, you know. We've got Colbeck, very smart, very refined, sort of quite well off, not in the upper echelons of society, but for Victorian times, you know, quite well off. They do have a few helpers in the house and a nanny. And Leeming there, he turns up in any old clothes that is sort of found on the floor and jumped into. He's a bit like that sort of character, but they work very well together, I feel. And so this is investigating what's happened and why. Is it all to do with the boat race that Bernard Pomeroy has been done in, or are there other circumstances that are not straightforward and apparent? And that's all I'll say, because you don't want to be spoiled for the book. Comes out on the 22nd, I believe. 21st is 21st of April. So I do recommend this, especially if you love railways, everything to do with the railway and the Victorian era. You do get a lovely feel for, you know, what happened in those times. And also they had constables on the stations, and there's a lovely character in here that helps with the crime, and yeah, like the railway police, as it were. So highly recommend it. It's got a cosy feel to it. It has to be something absolutely amazing for me to award 5 stars for something that's a cosy mystery. So, you know, a solid 4 stars is an excellent rating for this type of book. And as I say, I will go on now. I'm not going to read those that's gone before, I don't think, because I've got all his other series I enjoy. But I think I'm going to carry on when, you know, next year, if he brings another one out in the series, I'm going to carry on. So that's good, you see. It got me reading this so that I could do a review for the publisher, and enjoyed it. So that was 4. So I only had 2 5-star reads this month. I had The Little Princess. Now I'm calling this a mystery in a way. This is a well-loved children's classic by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I'll put the picture up here. I've got the book, but I can't find it. Sorted all the bookshelves out, but I can't find what I've done with half of the stuff. I've got to get myself readjusted to where I've put things. So if I can't find them, there's no hope for David. He hasn't got a clue. So I've not read this before, and it's a lovely book, a lovely story. And is there a mystery to it? I'm not sure. It's a lovely story about a young girl who her father lives overseas and works overseas. I don't know if it's the diamond mines or that sort of thing. And she is quite spoilt and quite wealthy. She's sent to a special boarding school, like finishing school, and she goes to this boarding school and has all the luxuries of one of the wealthy clients, as it were, pupils. And the head of this school's awful. She's an awful woman. And anyway, I won't say much about the story, but things change rather drastically. And it's just heartwarming story. I just feel some people might feel that she was very pretentious, but she treated people with kindness. And there's a lot of messages in there for children, I think, about kindness and looking after the underdog and making sure, you know, not being a bully, and to help those less fortunate than yourselves, or help people that are struggling, if they're struggling with the reading or the schoolwork, and you can manage it easily. It was just lovely. I've never read it before. I'm surprised I haven't. I would highly recommend it. I would highly recommend it to go on your children's classic list. It was lovely. And then finally, I've now lost where I've put my book. These Shallow Graves. Oh, it's fallen down the settee. Jennifer Donnelly. Now, I think I'd started this and was enjoying it, and I think that, you know, I did say I was enjoying it. And this is a very interesting mystery, I feel, and a bit of a locked door mystery in some respects. So we're in New York in the 1890s, and we've got Josephine, who is from a very prominent family, the Montfort family, and they've made their money. Her father's a bit of an industrialist. They own shipping and you know, several newspapers and, you know, loads of different businesses like that. So she's like from the upper echelons of society in New York, and it feels very much like being in the UK. Actually, the way of writing, as if you were reading like you know, oh, I'm trying to think what like Little Women's not in the UK. I'm trying to think of one. A Jane Austen. If you're reading a Jane Austen novel, and the way people with money live, and they're expected to sit at home and do needlework, that sort of thing. Well, she's very forthright, is Jo, and she doesn't really want to sit at home and do needlework. She wants to make a way in the world and be independent. But unfortunately, her father dies, and she's very close to her father. And people are very quick to assume that it's a case of suicide. They think that he's come upon hard times perhaps, and was depressed and committed suicide. But there's a few things that don't quite add up. And there's a young newspaper lad called Eddie, I think he's called. Yeah, Eddie Gallagher. And he gets a sniff of this, really, that all isn't as it seems, and starts investigating it, and so does Josephine herself. Now, it's funny because she's quite happy to go incognito, or dressed up as a man, or dressed up as somebody that's in rags, to get to the bottom of her father's murder, because she wants to clear his name. And even members of her own family, it feels as if she doesn't altogether fit in with them, because they sort of think, oh no, here she goes again, she shouldn't be going out, she has to do a lot. She's got a maid, her own maid, that she keeps paying, which made me smile. She keeps giving her money to to lie in her bed at night, so if they check up on her and think she's there. Anyway, between the two of them, they do get to the bottom of all this, and there's sort of a nice friendship that's built up between them, and I just loved it. It was, I think it is marketed as a YA, but very much fits well into an adult audience. I loved it. It was a 5-star read for me. I highly recommend it. So there we've got that one, These Shallow Graves by Jennifer Donnelly. I'm carrying on talking because you can hear Nelson roar, roar, roar in the background. Somebody's just gone past with the dog, so he's up there, noisy boy. Anyway, sorry it's a bit late, guys, but I'm sure you can understand. If I'm not ill, then David is. It's one thing or another, and life is life. And tomorrow we're going to start having a little bit more freedom here in the UK. Oh, hairdressers are going to be open. Look at this mop. Thank goodness for that. Probably can't get in for a fortnight. Everybody's queuing up to go. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm still aiming to get to that 1,000, guys. So please help. It'd be much appreciated. Stay safe out there. Bye for now.